Ready, not ready.
Almost ready.
Stand by to stand by.
Okay,
You're good.
we got the thumbs up.
Okay, I'm calling to order the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting for Thursday, January 4th, 2018. Do the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Murphy, would you like to?
Absolutely.
Ready, begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Gilbert,
Here.
Commissioner Jacobson,
Here.
Commissioner Intner,
Here.
Chair Firestone,
Here.
Vice Chair Murphy.
Yep.
All present this evening.
Okay, great. We are going to rearrange the order slightly. We have Captain Freihoff here. And so we're going to, he's item number 5, but we'll do him now before public comments while he's here. We'll get our police department report. Thanks for coming.
Oh, of course. So first, I'll apologize to all of you, and Sophocles in particular. I've been promising to come to the meeting for months, and even when I've had a surrogate that's supposed to attend in my place, there's been times the surrogate has failed to show, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're killing me. So I was set to come in December, and then with this little fire that broke out that stopped the meeting from happening. So, but I'm happy to be here today. I did reach out to all of our patrol sergeants and actually the whole staff to see if anybody had had any concerns or issues that were prevalent in our parks. There was something that you should be aware of or something we should be taking action on. And there was none other than the one that we are most familiar with, which is the Sarasota Park rental issue that I know that Sophocles and I have been talking about trying to limit the time, duration, amplified music, pointing the speakers a direction away from the homes to make it more attainable for the neighbors that live there. And I think that moving forward, I think we have a really good plan to try and ease the pain for the neighbors that are living there, yet still allow people to use this park that's been reconstructed in a way that was designed for people to use it. So I think that we'll be able to find a balance. I went through a similar issue when I was the assistant chief in Thousand Oaks with the Gardens of the World, or not the Gardens of the World, the Gardens at Los Robles Golf Course. They had put in an evening venue that had never been there before, and it was for weddings and other events. And the first one that they had, the speakers were facing the condos instead of the freeway. The DJ was yelling into a microphone. It was a disaster. And so there was a lot of measures that the city did that I had a chance to take part in that I think that we can use a lot of the lessons that were learned there to help us hopefully have a better summer this year coming forward and make it much better for the residents that live near and around Sarasota Park, and still allow the public to be able to use the park and enjoy it. So, but that's it. I mean, that was really the only issue that had come up. Is, I don't know, our patrol officers would respond out, and you're in a conundrum, and much like at the Gardens at Los Robles, we don't want to be the ones to ruin the wedding, right? But we're the ones that are going to get called, and we're going to be the ones that show up when the neighbors are upset. And so we know that that's part of what we do and why people don't always like what we do. But the more we can do to help mitigate those things ahead of time, the better chance we all have of not having to get called and then not ruining somebody's special day in the process.
And sorry, this goes a little bit beyond what you do, but we had talked in, I think, our last meeting in November. You'd gone over the modified
Some of the
rules.
modifications
Right.
to the rules. And, there was a little misconception about the use of that park, that we added amplified sound, or we added the fact that people can have bounce house or other things. We didn't really change any of the rules. The park just started to be used more and the parties were bigger. So some of the modifications, as Captain Freihoff mentioned, they only can go for a period of 4 hours, no more than 4 hours of music. And it can't go beyond 8 p.m. So all music has to be off at 8 p.m. and only one of the 3 sites that we have can have amplified sound. So that'd be on a first come, first served basis. So for example, Area 2 comes, someone wants to rent Area 2, they come in, they're gonna have amplified sound. We say, okay, you can have it 4 to 8. It has to be off by 8 o'clock. And then anyone else that comes in after that time wouldn't be allowed to have amplified sound as well.
Is there anything in that that talks about, based on your comment about Thousand Oaks, about which way the speakers should be pointing?
Yeah, so when someone does come in, we tell them the obvious, point them toward the fields. You know, any speakers that you have should be directed toward the Boyd Center, toward the fields. And, you know, it's a pretty simple request or layout, if you will, about how the speakers are being driven or directed. But I'll kind of jump off the picnic area, and, you know, this is not to put, it won't really be putting them on the spot. It's something that recently came up with skate park, which isn't any new news to the city or the recreation department. The use of scooters or bikes being allowed in the park. And they're right now, as you all know, they're prohibited. Scooters and bikes are not allowed in the park, and that's pretty typical for most skate parks. Some skate parks do allow it, and with specific hours, but a lot of parks in our District 8 area, you know, from San Luis all the way down, you know, Thousand Oaks, they don't allow those in their park. They don't allow scooters or bikes in the park. But we recently had some, again, I won't call it an uprising, but once again, more of the scooter community wanting to be in that park. And I bring it all up because of the enforcement. You know, is there a way to enforce an unsupervised park? The enforcement mostly falls on the legal or the law side of it, because it is against the rules of the park. But where's, you know, the priority's pretty low when it comes to police enforcement of scooters in a park or bikes in a park.
And that kind of begs the question, have you had any calls?
You know, without running the numbers, I wouldn't be able to tell you offhand if we've had any calls on there. I know I talked just anecdotally to one of the sergeants that the kids have pretty well figured out kind of when they all should be at the park. And so the young kids that have the scooters are there in the morning early. You know, they're riding their scooters around, and then a couple hours later, the middle-aged kids show up and they're on their skateboards, and then later in the afternoon, the older kids show up, and so they've kind of have, you know, divided and conquered and figured out when they need to be there, and to not have any conflicts with it. And so, you know, if somebody called and was complaining that they were in there with the bicycles or scooters, you know, of course we'll respond to it, and we'll handle it accordingly. Number one, like I said, priority-wise, it's not a high priority call, but if we're not doing anything, of course we will respond, and I would fully expect the officers would be there to remind them that they're not to ride their scooters. They're not going to be hauling people to jail or writing tickets for riding a scooter in there. You know, if they talk to the same kid 3 times in a row, then maybe they call the parents and get the parents involved. You know, step up the advisement. But you know, we try and take a very rational approach to policing here in our town, and there's, like I said, there are much bigger things for us to concern ourselves with, but we do want it to be safe. And that's, I think, the reason for the not having bicycles and scooters in there with skateboards is it creates an environment where you have the 2 different type of vehicles being used, and potentially a collision could be devastating to one of those people. So I think that's the heart of it, and we take that in mind when we go out there on a call.
Great. Yeah, we might agendize that for discussion possibly down the road, but.
And maybe do, you know, like you said, to set up times for it, saying if you're going to do, you know, we have scooters between this time and this time, and knowing that the younger crowd is really the ones with the scooters. You know, most of the middle-aged and upper-age kids are using skateboards and bicycles, and, you know, I don't know if there's a time slot where you just to say, hey, to accommodate all these different groups that want to use the facility, because it is a very nice facility. You know, is there a way that you could break that apart? But that's something you all can certainly discuss.
That's for this body.
That's for them. That's for this group to figure out.
Yeah.
Has there been any other hotspots in any of the parks that that we should be made aware of as far as enforcing anything?
No, I think, you know, the key is for anything. If people see something that looks out of place, is to call. We know that we have, you know, a pretty good homeless population that meanders through the park. Most of the time are not doing anything wrong, but occasionally are drinking in public or getting loud, and we expect to get called when they're doing that so that we can take enforcement action on that. We're in the winter season now, so they do have shelters to go to at night, which is nice, because as it gets colder, it's nice for them to have a place where they can go inside and not have to worry about warming fires in the park or other potential hazards that come along with that. So, but no, there's not any rogue issues at our parks at all that have risen to my level of attention. Okay. You know, nothing more than the typical calls.
Great, thank you.
The question I think I'd emailed you a while ago about Sarzati Park and that back corner behind the baseball fields, if you ever get any complaints about sketchy activity back there, because I know it's, everyone knows that, that's the word on the street is that there's a pretty sketchy place.
So, and so which comes to like policing 101, right? So here's what's funny is, now I may know that there's sketchy behavior going on back there, but if I walk back there and the people walk away, unless I have a reason to detain them, I can't detain them.
Yeah.
If I get a call saying that they're up to no good, now I have probable cause to make a detention. So if somebody sees something that they think is shady or that needs some law enforcement response, then we encourage them to call, and we'll be more than happy to go look into it. And then we can actually have some authority to look into it, other than, we can walk through there whenever we want, of course, but if,
Right.
as soon as they all scamper away, then it's, we've chased them away for the next 20 minutes until we
Yeah,
leave.
I was more interested if you have actually gotten calls or complaints. Or,
Once again, nothing that's risen to my level where like, hey, Kat, we got a real problem here. And like I said, I sent an email to the staff asking if there's been any issues at our parks at all. And aside from the issue, like we talked about at Sarasate, which is still very low, minimal. I mean, you talk to the neighbors that are being impacted, it's impacting them because they live right next to it, right? I get it, you're home on a Saturday, you want to relax, and all you hear is bumping, thumping music for 8 hours. It would drive me nuts too.
yeah. Okay, thanks.
To my knowledge, there's been, to use your word, sketchy activity back there since I was 12 years old. So it's been going on for a while.
Right.
It doesn't seem to have risen to any kind of serious level that I've ever been made aware of.
Right. It's an area that's out of sight, right? And that's, typically when people don't want to be seen by us, they go to places that are hard to see.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of those places have existed for years, and we have a lot of our staff that are familiar with them, and they've either lived here or worked here before, and get to know those areas pretty quickly. Like,
Right.
like myself, this is not my first time in Ojai. This is my second time up here. I was a deputy up here from 94 to 98, so I'm pretty familiar with the valley.
Yeah, that's we have a master plan for Sarasate Park that was recently approved, and that's one of the first areas we're looking to modify, is to introduce some different sports courts there.
Right, and then we'll just have to figure out where the new hotspot will be.
That's
Right? It's not going to go away. It's just going to
No.
get moved.
That's true.
Okay, thanks. Anything else?
All right.
Anyone?
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the trend of the beginning of the new year to try and make the
Year's
attendance here.
resolution.
Right, a New
We
Year's
have
resolution to make the park
1 month in a
meetings.
row.
one month in a row. Right on. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we can go to item number 3, public comments. I have a speaker card from Craig Walker.
Good evening. My name is Craig Walker. I live at 1160 Lake Avenue. I'm here this evening representing a group of Ojai Valley residents and former residents who communicate through Facebook on a site called The Other Ojai. The Other Ojai has nearly 4,000 members, including myself, Colleen McDougall, Pat Murphy, and perhaps some of the others on the commission. During the Thomas Fire, the group was very active in coordinating information about the fire and helping residents to respond to its threats. The group has also played an important role in disseminating information about recovery and assistance for those affected by the fire. Much of the early information gathering and posting was led by former Ojai residents living in other states and even countries. While Ojai residents were scrambling to evacuate, Richard Lobley in Paris, Nancy Jones in Henderson, Nevada, and Nancy Heron in Portland, Oregon were coordinating and posting information for local residents. Many in the fire department commended the Other Ojai for its 24-hour vigilance and accurate reporting that helped prevent loss of life and property among the people of Ojai. It was with a heavy heart that members of the Other Ojai learned about the death of Escondido firefighter Corey Iverson. Though he died near Fillmore, he was battling the blaze that threatened our community. In 1917, when the Great Fire hit, it was up to local residents to man the fire lines. During the Thomas Fire, we were all able to safely evacuate while firefighters and inmates put their lives on the line. Corey Iverson made the ultimate sacrifice, leaving behind his wife and 2 daughters, one yet to be born. During the Wheeler Fire of 1985, firefighters also saved our community. Local residents, headed by Pat Weinberger, created a memorial at the Y to honor the firefighters of 1985. We feel this would be an ideal location to remember Corey Iverson. The Other Ojai would like to create a plaque to honor Corey Iverson. We hope that one day his two daughters will visit Ojai and be comforted in knowing that the people of Ojai remember their father and his sacrifice. We are here tonight to ask your permission to place this plaque at the Y in the Memorial Park at the entrance to our city. Colleen is designing the memorial and will arrange for it to be cast in bronze. The other Ojai will fund the plaque and all expenses relating to its installation. We envision mounting it on the side of the existing large boulder, mounting it on the smaller boulder nearby, or bringing in a new boulder, whichever the commission or the city prefers. So Colleen has worked up a mock-up of a possibility. We made it in a couple of different sizes.
I feel like Vanna White.
Yeah. So
This is the size of the,
This is the size of the existing plaque on the large boulder at the
and
Y,
the smaller one that might go on the smaller boulder.
on a smaller
Same thing,
boulder.
basically.
But it's the same writing, and again, the writing's not fixed yet. It's something that we're working with.
And there's also the possibility of a portrait of the man and the wording being the same, but I do portraiture, and I'm the one that's doing the one for David Mason.
So we would like to get your support and possibly any feedback that you might give us on how to proceed with this project.
So I think procedurally, I think we would have a discussion item and we could make a recommendation to the city council, who could then approve the placement of the plaque.
Right. With that said, I'm not sure what you were figuring your timetable was, or?
Well, we don't really have a timetable, and one of the things we were hoping to do is put the names of both of his daughters on this, and the one daughter won't be born, I don't think, until March, so we don't know what her name is yet. So there's not a big rush on it, so.
And also the ultimate acreage.
And the final acreage, too. We'd like to put that on the plaque, and it's still burning, so.
So we, as you suggested, and with correct protocol, would agendize it for the next meeting and have a discussion about and make recommendation to city council.
You know, it'd be nice too at that is a picture of what's there for our next meeting. Well, we can talk about that when we
yeah.
agendize it, but sorry.
Right, so,
Go out there and take a live.
Take some
sort of live
photographs.
shot.
Right. I mean, I know where you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
right, like this is great. This gives us a very good idea of what you'd like to do. And then in preparation for a discussion item where we'd make a formal recommendation to the city council, it would be nice to, have some pictures of where you think it would go. And
Okay, so
Any other
should we make,
thoughts
is
on
there
the
a form we would fill out or something, or?
The city does not have an official plaque or naming policy as of yet.
Uh-huh.
We're working on it. But, yeah, it would, of course, the more information, the better, but we don't have a form. You could bring something by the recreation
So just
department.
write it up
Yeah,
and bring
write
some
it up.
photographs.
It would be nice
I-
to have something
I think what you
written
have
up
is-
And bring
photos.
bring
and
these along
Bring that
too.
along
And
too.
location photos. I'm thinking about what the sign commission has finally come up with. They're actually recommendations that are delineated and are, I have to say, easy to follow now. Back in the day, some years back, it was impossible to follow, but now it's easy to follow. So
Yeah.
it's something that eventually, I'm sure you guys will come up with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful. This is one of those rare circumstances where maybe there's a way that this doesn't get bogged down in 6 months worth of questions and answers and things that go back and forth. I mean, it would be nice if this could get done in a couple of months, whatever that time frame is. Like Craig said,
That
we
would
have
be
till
fine.
March to get it done. So if we could meet next month and get that to the city council by the
Well,
latest
I think
being April.
today we just agendize it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that's
Right.
that's a good way to go.
And I'd offer to, if you'd like to work with me to kind of get the information prepared for our discussion, I'm
Oh,
happy
okay,
to
that'd
give
be
you
great.
feedback on is this enough information or,
Can I get your email from
Yes. Yeah.
from the rec department?
Yeah, you can, if you want to contact me, then I
Okay.
can get Ryan's information to you.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Craig.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colleen.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Well, she's
She's staying.
Oh, there's more?
There's more.
All right.
I'm also at meeting.
That's right.
Yeehaw.
Okay, so we have a great audience tonight. Lots of attendance. So item number 4 is Colleen.
Do we have any other public comment? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, were there other public comments? Oh. Okay, please, come on up. Sorry about that.
I have some flyers here. Could I hand these out to you
Oh,
guys?
pickleball, I didn't recognize you. Sorry about that. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sweeping the nation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't even recognize.
We have back here.
So my name is Tim Kraut, and what I hope this evening to do is explain a little bit about pickleball. I've been playing this sport for the last 2 years now. I've been driving to Santa Barbara to play this, also to Rancho Canale Park above the grade, and also with the group in Ventura. Pickleball was started, there's a paddle on the ball, back in 1965, Bainbridge Island. A couple, 3 families got together, had a bunch of kids. Kids didn't know what to do, so they come up with this game called pickleball. Their dog happened to be named Pickles, and he was always chasing the ball and keeping the ball, so thus Pickles. Basically, the court size is 20 feet wide, 44 feet long, divided by a 3-foot net. It's a quarter of the size of a tennis court. You can put 4 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court, and it's being done all the time. In Santa Barbara, they've converted 2 permanent tennis courts to 8 dedicated pickleball courts. At Rancho Canale, they have 6 new courts that the Parks Department just installed. In Ventura, the group I play with in Ventura, they've got painted lines over the tennis courts, so we're using those when I go down there and play. Basically, pickleball is you serve it diagonally, you return it, and then after that you can volley all day if you want. The game usually is to 11, and you have to win by 2. So what I've done personally is I became a referee of pickleball, and now I'm a USPA ambassador for this area here, and that's a national recognized. They're hoping someday, they're talking about having pickleball in the Olympics. There's discussion about that. So anyways, I'm excited about it. I've secured the 2 abandoned tennis courts over at the junior high school that haven't been used and actually were under lock and key. So I approached the school district, filled out the application, did what they wanted me to. So now I'm there, I'm giving lessons. I have paddles, I have balls, and it's free. So my hope, my aim is to encourage all the kids in the valley and adults too. I've played in Ventura with a young man that's 7 years old. In Santa Barbara, I've played with men and women that are in their 80s. So a lot of people can play it. My hope someday is, and I noticed in your master plan, Sarasota, maybe someday we can get a few courts there. That's all I got to say. If you have any questions,
I do.
I'm available. Yes.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Pat.
Haven't seen you for probably 30 years or so.
I haven't left town.
Is the court about the same size as a paddle tennis court then, or is it smaller than that?
It's not the same size. Paddle
Okay.
tennis is a little bit different. I'm
Okay.
not exactly sure of the dimensions of a paddle tennis, but it's a little bit different.
Because I know
than
there's
football.
two of those courts out at Soul Park.
Correct.
I believe, right?
Correct.
So, yeah, I'd be interested in seeing how that works, because it's,
I'm
as-
there Saturday mornings.
I got it. I think it appeals, the thing that I like about it is it appeals to some of us that have a little bit more limited mobility than we did when we were 20 and 30.
Absolutely.
So is it singles and doubles? Is it just singles? Is it?
It's both singles
both,
and
okay.
doubles. And another thing that you just touched on, it appeals to a lot of people. A lot of tennis players, ex-tennis players now are playing this
Yeah.
because you've got a lot less room to cover with a 20 by 44 foot court. So you don't have to cover a tennis court area.
Is it played on the bounce like tennis is, and in the air both ways, or?
2 bounces. The serve and return has to bounce.
Okay.
After that, you can volley all day.
Okay.
So the serve and the return has to bounce. Then after that, you can volley or bounce it.
First of all, thank you for setting this up.
Yeah, this is
That was
great.
service. So for folks watching, we do have a flyer here, and I'll read it out. So it says, now at Mantillahat Junior High School, for beginners, intermediate, and advanced, Monday through Thursday, 3:30 p.m. to dusk, and Saturdays, 7:30 a.m. to noon. And then can I read out your contact information, or
Excuse me?
can I read out the contact
Sure.
information? Okay. Phone number 805-320-1597. Email ohaipickleball@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Soph, is there any way we could put this on our Facebook page?
Yeah, we can. We have a few of those flyers already in our office, but absolutely, definitely we
okay.
can
Post it up there?
post it up on our Facebook page, sure.
I got a question.
Facebook.
Sure.
Clearly, you take your pickleball very seriously.
Yes.
I'm a little disappointed there's no pickles involved. I do have one question though. What's the age group for this game?
Well, like I said, in Ventura, I played with a young man that's 7, and he played very well. And in Santa Barbara, they're in their late 70s and 80s, and I'm playing with them.
So anybody can basically cognitively take direction
Absolutely.
and up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
With some good instruction.
So I can talk to my principal and maybe get this posted around Nordhoff High School if you'd like.
That will not happen.
No?
No. I spoke to Andy Cantwell,
Okay.
and he told me I could not.
All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Let's see. There's one other thing that came to mind. Oh, I know what it was. I was wondering if there was some time or a way or maybe an opportunity that I could present this to a group, say at the rec center sometime with, I'd have to set that up with you, but
Yeah,
possibly in the future.
Right. I mean, we have people coming in and out. I mean, the only event where we invite the community as a whole, we do have an open house once a year, and we could have your flyers out there. We usually don't, no disrespect intended here, we usually don't invite outside organizations to our open house event. It's usually more of a way to kick off our summer programs, but we certainly could have your information there, your flyers there. That wouldn't be a problem.
Is this something that down the road could be converted to a rec program?
Well,
If
we-
interested.
he had stopped by the recreation department prior to coming to this commission, and we did talk about it potentially morphing into an actual, no different than our tennis league,
Right.
potentially a pickleball league down the road if there was enough interest.
Exactly.
We could definitely,
Exactly.
or potentially, consider adding that to one of our programming items. Yeah.
The Rancho Caneo Parks and Recs, they have that exactly. What you're talking about.
Well, I know there's a large segment of people like myself that were ex-tennis players that sort of moved over to paddle tennis, and then even that got to be a little bit hard on my knees. So it's something I'll have to come over on a Wednesday or Thursday, which is one of my off days, and
Sure.
bat the
Sure.
ball around and see how
Sure.
that works.
Great. Love to have you. All right, thank you.
Okay,
coming.
Tim,
Thanks,
thank
Tim.
you.
Thank you.
All right, any other public comments? Okay, at long last, our presentation by Colleen McDougall. Thank you for coming.
Hello.
Yes, you can move that, yeah.
Okay. I'm Colleen McDougall. I have been a cartoonist in Ojai for many years. I was the Ojai Valley News opinions page, social commentary cartoonist. People say, oh, wow, you're a political cartoonist. I'm the least political person that there is, but lots of social comment, lots of fun, and gentle poking fun at people. That was always my aim. 25 years worth, then I decided, that's a good body of work. People still like me, so I'll quit here. And I quit, and then I thought, I want to teach, but I don't know how and where, and it kind of fell into my lap that the fella that was teaching cartooning and animation wanted to move on, and he got in touch with me and said, what do you think? And I said, well, I know animation, but I've never really taught it before. I've taught cartooning, but... And he said, you'll do fine. And he left. And I went, okay. So I took it from there and continued to haunt eBay and look for little cameras and little old tripods, and got my glue gun out and built some stations where the kids could use the little cameras to record the drawings they made. And then we dragged it into a computer program and put it out, and on the other end was little movies that we'll show some tonight. Up here, is that where we show them?
Potentially.
Potentially.
So I'm going to kick on the televisions.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. All right.
So anyway, I've been teaching for a while with the rec department. I was asked to teach at Valley Oaks Charter, and I'm working with students there that are at 4th, 5th, 6th grade, and then 7th and 8th grade levels. I'm really enjoying it. When I was a kid, when I was their age, I wanted to be like a Walt Disney cartoonist. And, oh, well, you'll never do it because you're not a boy, and you'll never do it because, blah, 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 whatever. But I continued to be interested, and I continued to learn what I could. And then when I was 55, I finally went to university, took a couple of classes there, and one of them was an animation class taught by a woman who was a little younger than me, who had in fact become a Walt Disney animator cartoonist. And by 1998, when they took everybody out and fired them all and went out of the country, darn them, left a lot of really great animators like hanging. But she did what my dream had been, and she was so disappointed that now all she could do was just teach. And I thought, wow, but I want to teach. So thanks to SOF, I've been able to do that. And the proof is in the showing. I brought 11 little very short shorts. And if we can show them, and I'll talk about the students in between briefly. But that's what the little orange piece of paper is all about. So Abby is a 9-year-old. And, some of the concepts we work on in cartooning, squash and stretch is where Wile E. Coyote falls off of things and he squashes down and spreads out, and then he comes back together, and then he stretches and takes off running. That's the squash and stretch. And then there's the walking action. And then there's, let's see, motion with found objects. So these things will be shown throughout. So Abby did a squash and stretch. Poor little Hedgie the hedgehog. Will we run that first one? These are epic.
They really are.
Boing, boing, and she was so thrilled when it actually worked. She drew each picture individually. She did the actual photography of each piece, each one, then thank you for watching. She also did
Abby
one
is
that's.
how old?
She's 9.
Oh, 9. You mentioned.
And she did one that's showing the walking movement, and it's how bunnies really walk. Yep, that's bunnies, how they really walk. We know they always stand up like that and walk.
I've
But
seen
it's just so amazing to see their eyes light up when one of their little characters actually moves. Dylan did a squash and stretch, but he used clay in a claymation. So he didn't actually draw this, but it's clay squashing and stretching.
You know, we've done this at the recreation department too, and I've had even less success at trying to run this on the big screen in the MPR.
Yeah, at the end of each of our 6-week session, Mr. C comes and runs the whole program through YouTube, actually, because we have our own YouTube channel, and we put the stuff up on YouTube. And
I think we lost a couple videos.
Oh, did we?
I was trying to transfer the files and I'm
So-
a little bit angry, which is why James is here.
Oh, okay,
But
so we
I
don't have Dylan?
apologize.
Okay. How about Emily? She's got a tiger that's, Emily's the one that's killing it?
Yeah, the Crouching Tiger, what's that movie?
Hidden Dragon.
Oh, Aloha Squish Town. Okay, let's get down to Aloha Squish Town.
Is that what
Oh,
that
yeah,
is?
here we go, squash and stretch with claymation, Aloha Squish Town.
Oh, that was
And he said,
Dylan's?
no blueberries.
So Colleen, this seems to be similar to the old school way where you had flip
Like a flip book.
cartooning, right? Like a flip book,
Like a
right?
flip
That we
book.
used to do.
I find that the students are a whole lot more savvy than we were as kids because
Thank
they've
God.
watched all they've watched all the things on YouTube, and they're glued to their computers, and or they've watched Nicktoons or whatever that show the process of animation. So I had to go to a book and read in a book about it, and find a book at the library when they open on Saturdays. But the kids now are very savvy. If they have an interest at all, they come in already knowing how to do it. Some of them have the tablet and they have all this
Right.
advanced good stuff. And they know the process, but what I'm trying to teach them is to take them back to that very beginning so that it gets planted. It's like learning to memorize the multiplication tables. So you always have them. When you're my age, you still have them. And it's one thing to use that because that's fast, and it's one thing to use a tablet because it's fast. But understanding the concepts and making it work,
Right.
and the kids that come in really like to draw, so it's really great. And I told them, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it, right? So this is a little different because it's a little bit of concentration. Let's see, do we have Emily the tiger? No. No? Okay.
About,
How about Isla, the floating ducks?
Okay, the next class at the rec department is audiovisual.
well, in our defense, we did get it just today, so.
This is true, this is true.
It was yeah, but I.
How about Jocelyn
I've
Catwalk?
had that suggested before.
There's Jocelyn Catwalk. And she's got a four-legged creature walking.
That's good.
I think.
Slowly.
Okay,
So
yeah.
some of them got mislabeled and the other ones got like encrypted weirdly that they're not playing, so.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think that's all.
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
as they say,
Well,
that's
thank
all,
you.
that's all, folks.
Nice. I really appreciate it.
But you can find
the gist of
these,
it.
we can find these
Oh, yeah, there's a YouTube.
animations on a YouTube site.
Right, it's Ojai Rec Department Animation on YouTube, but there's also all these letters and numbers down here at the bottom if you want to sit and type all those in.
Yeah.
But if you go to YouTube and you ask to look for Ojai Rec Department Animation, it should come up. And it's fun, it's cute. It shows you what the students they're 9 to 14 years old for the most part. I had one special needs student who was Kelly 17?
I'm not sure.
I think he was 17 or 18. And he was a special needs guy, and I kind of inherited him from the last instructor, and the instructor had said, well, Kelly likes to draw, but I don't really think he understands the whole idea of animation. And I said, okay, well, we'll just keep letting him draw. And he drew, and he drew, and he drew. And finally, I went to him one day, and I said, do you want to shoot this and make a animation? He said, yeah. And so I turned him loose. He knew. He got it. He did it, and we had it. But anyway, it turned out really cute, and it proved that everybody is learning the good things. And I have a lot of adults who have asked me because they're teachers and they want to put a little animation maybe on their presentations, and I'm taking names.
So is there a next level, Colleen, that once they learn the basic premise of how to create the animation, is there then an advanced class that they can do, or is there another place you can take them, or no?
We haven't put together an advanced class, but I'm working with the Valley Oak Charter to do exactly that. And the class that I have now are 7th and 8th graders who took a basic from me. And I'm going to let them put some sound effects to their cartoons if they want to. And then the ones that actually do want to learn flash animation, I can show them on the computer. We have a couple computers there that we can use. We don't have the computers at the rec department to use, but that would be the next step, is to take it to that level. But of course, we have to keep it simple because we've got things that I put together with hot glue. But it works.
And
I'll mention the next session, or go ahead.
I was going to ask, when is the class and what ages is it for?
All right, so the class is for ages 9 to 13. The next session will begin Thursday, February 1st through March 15th. So it's a 6-week program. And they can find that on our website, ojairec.com, and register online. It's that easy, just a couple of clicks.
Have they been full?
Yes, quite many of the
Okay.
sessions have been really, really full.
Well attended, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is a class, it's animation and cartooning.
Mm-hmm.
So
And if a student doesn't want to animate and they just want to draw cartoons, I help them with that. But this generation is more interested in the animation because, I'm one of the last of the single frame type cartoon things. They don't do that anymore. It's antique.
Okay, are you helping with the the drawing skills, or is it
course.
mostly the putting
The
together?
caricaturization, yes. Yeah, that's developing their characters, and they're not just stick figures, they actually can move and have joints, and I've never drawn it on the side before. Well, there you go.
Great.
So it's really good. It's fun. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Colleen.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having
thank you.
me.
So,
Thanks for coming.
Before you go,
Oh, yes.
if there were time, would you be interested in offering an adult class?
I'm going to put together some sort of an outline and really think it through,
Think it through,
because
okay.
there will be different applications for adults to use.
Right.
And like I said, I've been approached by a couple of people that are teachers, and they do their little presentations on, what do they call that? You can pull in an animation and put it into your presentation. And
PowerPoints and things like that. Mhm.
yeah, like that. And they want to do that.
So you might be open to that.
I would be open
Okay.
to that.
I was just
especially-
curious. Good. That's
I
great.
would think, especially if the adults had their own laptop or their own.
So it's a matter of equipment and,
Yeah.
okay. All
Because
right.
we can't, at the rec department, we can't offer electronic equipment. So that's partly why we're doing it the old-fashioned way. And I also believe that it's important to learn those multiplication tables.
Yeah.
And memorize them. And once you've got the
Read.
concept, you can do anything on a computer. It's just another tool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Very
Yeah,
exciting.
thanks for coming. Thanks. All right. Item number 6 is a Public Works report. I don't see Mr. Grant here. I don't know if he's given you anything, Seth?
No, nothing, no important updates or anything of significance that's
Okay.
changed really or been added.
Any questions or comments that we need to relay to Mr. Grant? Okay.
I guess we'll talk about it later on in the agenda. Just getting back to our layout of the multi-use courts and our canceled field trip or
I think to that
never
question,
scheduled field trip.
I think to that question too, I think it's a matter of timing. I'm sure we have a list of things we're interested in, but I'm sure that when he's available,
Yes,
because I think we had a list already, so.
yeah.
Okay.
Roads, it's all about the roads right now, repaving of the roads.
Okay. Item number 7, approval of minutes. We have the minutes from November 2nd meeting. Any corrections?
They look good.
I noticed that they're not quite in order of time. I think it's just items 6 and 7. No, if that was
Oh,
I
intentional.
think-
just the,
Because we swapped it because of availability, I think.
Okay, so that was just.
Of the speaker.
I see.
I didn't, that's just my memory of it.
okay, I'll check it though.
But the link, I think, works.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I'll write a little note that says time router to make sure that they're,
Right.
that it's right.
Okay, they look good, I thought. Anyone else comment? So do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
I make a motion that the minutes are approved.
Okay,
Thursday, November 2nd minutes.
Those are the ones we're talking about.
Oh, no, I'm just doing it for the record.
Because those will be on the minutes too, right?
Yes.
okay, do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, can vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, approved. Discussion items. So 8A, Sarzadi Master Plan.
Yeah, so it's to review options and costs related to updating the master plan as adopted by the city council, leaving the Boyd Center in its existing location and thereby removing the proposed community center. So we did reach out to Community Works, and he provided a couple of cost options in the neighborhood of about $8,000 to redesign the master plan, if that would be the desire of this commission to make a recommendation to update the master plan, which would reflect the Boyd Center being out, but it also, that community center also affected, or the Boyd Center affected the parking, how the parking was designed. Now, could that be done potentially in-house by our own staff and engineer? Quite possibly. I don't know if it would necessarily require a whole redesign of the master plan.
I'm not sure exactly where this came from or how we came to this point, but from my perspective, that's a picture of what we want to do, but the written report of what we want to do is equally as important. And so it doesn't, from my perspective, spending $8,000 to make the picture fit doesn't make any sense at all, because we're pretty clear on what we don't want to do. We're pretty clear on the direction that council gave in the adoption. So as long as the written report reflects that that isn't going to happen, and that ultimately we'd still like this type of parking, understanding that it needs to be reworked with the current building, I think having that in the report is sufficient to reflect the goals of the master plan. So if and when we decide to redo that portion of the master plan, it would be, from my perspective, more based on a project. So if we understand the projects that we want to do and where they are on that, it's not worth spending $8,000 to change the picture.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
that's just-
Sure, that's your.
Can I offer a clarification also from council?
Sure.
Okay, first of all, we didn't tell anyone to remove that drawing from the master plan. What we said is if you're going to proceed with moving the Boyd Center and creating a new recreation center, that we wanted you to bring that back to council for discussion. That's what we said. So
So the plan as it stands is accurate.
So yes, so that's what I'm here to clarify, that it was not to go back and redesign and leave the Boyd Center. It was if down the road you do make a decision, the commission, to move forward and you do want to build a new recreation center, that the council would like the opportunity to have a public discussion and a deliberation on specifically that aspect of the park master plan.
And again, that can be in the written portion of the master
Right.
plan versus having to do,
I wouldn't spend $8,000 having anything redesigned.
No.
So, okay, that,
And more importantly, I think I said this too in the discussion, you know, when you dream the dream, and that's what you guys did, now you're gonna bring it to fruition part by part by part. Putting a $15 million recreation center, or 18 million, whatever they had budgeted for it, again, probably won't happen in my lifetime, as much as I'd like to see it, but it may happen in that young lady's, in Maya's lifetime. But again, doesn't mean you dissolve all the work and all the intent that you guys did as a commission. Don't throw that away. You know, you guys did an incredible job on that. And I just say run with the aspects and the parts that you want with it. But I did want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
thank you.
thanks.
Thanks, Randy.
Any other thoughts or comments on that?
Yeah, I think $8,000 is a little much for some Revit renderings, some overhead.
Yeah.
If we're gonna spend some good money in it, let's at least get some surveyed station drawings.
Right. Let's move forward with the kind of mapping and different information we need to move forward with many
Like
of the
you talked
projects.
about in the last meeting, yeah.
So it sounds like there's no interest in changing the drawings or paying to change the drawings, but it does sound like there is some work to revise the written report to reflect the council's decision,
Yeah.
or has that happened?
Yeah, that hasn't happened.
Okay,
Um,
and who does that
The-
fall
the-
on?
And the two parts that I would
City
reflect
staff,
are,
probably.
right, is the commentary from council on specifically the community center, and then also the parking. Because we're still keeping the goal for the parking to flow that way, but that it would need to be reworked based on,
the Boyd Center
Boyd
still
Center,
being
yeah.
in its
those are the
current-
two things
current
I would like to
location and its
see
position, sure.
dealt with in the written part of the report.
Okay. So noted,
Done.
done. Well, unless we have any other comment. to it,
Okay,
but,
yeah, anything else on that? Sounds like pretty straightforward direction. Okay, item 8B, ad hoc committee preparation. So we now have 5 ad hoc committees, and we had discussed for December giving an update. We didn't have a meeting in December, so if anyone has updates from their committee, that'd be great to hear what's going on, and we can just go through the list. So the first one is Libby Lawn seating plan.
Well, I know Eric said he went over and took some photographs of what the existing area looks like, correct?
Yeah, I'm 6 foot even, and I was standing on the grass in various locations, and I took pictures at eye level. So I got a good idea of what an average person sees outside of a crowd, having to look over a crowd. So I've got an idea, but we still need to discuss it before we can move forward.
Agreed.
So we're kind of at a standstill. The fire in December kind of put us at a standstill as well.
So, next time.
Next time.
Okay, but it sounds like you're doing some
Well,
scoping out physically and.
Yeah, and to me, it's going to be important to know where are we in that process of, I believe there were 3 designs that were still being considered, if I remember correctly. Is that right, Randy?
So, yeah, we had put together 3 drawings. That's why if you guys would like to, next time you meet out there, let me know, and I'll come out and
Yeah.
show you the elevations that we were looking at. That will help you to understand what the drawings were trying to achieve. And that way you're not spinning your wheels, you'll get something done quicker. Actually, the reason that I decided to send it back, or William and I decided to send it back, was so that you could have a public discussion. to see just what type of input there is. We get some input from the Libby Bowl committee, but that park is a public entity and it should be discussed publicly by all the users, not just people attending concerts.
Yeah.
So the next time you guys do that, please, Sophocles can give you my number. Yeah, in fact, Sophocles, if you can get it from Steve, give them my cell number. Okay. That's the easiest way to get hold of me, okay? And, if you guys want to meet, let me know. I'd love to
Thank
go
you.
over those drawings with you.
Thanks for that offer.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay.
Glad you're moving forward.
Anything else on that? Okay, the next one, Valleywide Parks District, myself and Commissioner Intner. I don't have anything to report.
Not at this point. We've
Okay.
done some work, but we're not at a place where we're
Yes, we have to do
gotten far
some
enough on any of it.
homework. You're right, I think a lot of it is, at least as an initial step, is just kind of understanding what it means and what it would take.
A lot
to-
of feelers, for sure.
Okay, so Soul Park,
Yeah, I went and was able to pick up some information from the rec department on what work had been done or what the thought process was. I gave it to Maya tonight for her to look at it, and then we'll try to, because the information that's in there is 5 years old. So we have to figure out a way to kind of attack this and get some new numbers and from the county probably, and she and I will be discussing that between now and next meeting.
what is the numbers you're interested in?
The revenue from the park, the parking, the barbecue, what those revenues are. According to that report, if I remember right, it was around $50,000 for just the barbecue area and the parking. And the last thought, according to the information that I looked at, was if we reimburse the county the $50,000, could we then take over the park and create our own programs and generate our own revenue? I'm not sure that's a direction that we'd want to go, but that's kind of where it was left the last time it was discussed, from the information I was looking at. So those are all, I think the first step would be get a new set of numbers, and then the second step would be to talk amongst ourselves and figure out what we want to do with that, parking and barbecue, because I think those numbers are now skewed because of all the barbecue activity at Sarzani.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch
Yeah,
of stuff that needs to be
potentially.
redeveloped at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walked around with my little brother, and I asked him for ideas about what he'd like to see, because he's very creative, and he had like 20 ideas by the time we were done, which was really cool. There's a lot of possibility for Soul Park, so I really hope we can get this rolling, because it'd be really cool to see us use the park.
Well, what are the things on the list? And I think, is that the list that's in
I
front
have
of
the
you?
other,
One of the suggestions that was a game that was called Assassins.
yes.
That might not be something we want to promote. I don't know what that game is, or else come up with a different name.
Yeah, it's a game where you like take pictures of people and you have to steal their picture, and by essentially stealing their picture, you're killing them. And yeah.
Not a fan. In this day and age, there's got to be a different way to go about that. But anyway, moving on. Thank you.
If
Come
it
up
has
with a
pickle
different
in the name,
It's okay.
even better, yeah.
Oh, pickleball's on here.
Okay, well, that's helpful to understand where you guys are and what you're thinking of doing. Anything else on that? Soul Park? No. Okay. Partnership, OUSD partnerships. So I passed out some notes. I didn't leave myself a copy. Thanks. Okay. So Commissioner Intner and I met with Sophocles and Allison, I think in November.
Hard to remember anymore.
Yeah. But as we had discussed, to brainstorm possible partnership opportunities between the city of Ojai and the school district. And so this is kind of a cleaner version of that brainstorm. And if we get input from you all, we can clean this up some more and then share it with the school district and start a discussion with them. So the things that we came up with, and I think almost all of this we've discussed already. It's come up in kind of our commission brainstorms, but just to see it all in one place. Adult education, so kind of looking both ways, the city promoting OUSD classes in our activity guide, on our website and social media, at our commission meetings, and then likewise, school district staff instructing rec department programs. So the pottery class is our best example right now, I think. But also other visual arts, music, dance, computer topics. The benefit of going through the rec department is that we provide the administration, the insurance, and the advertising, so the instructors can just instruct. They don't have to worry about a lot of other details. I'll pause there. If there's anything else anyone wants to add on.
Yeah, I did. We talked about another instructor at Nordhoff, Kate Thomas, and she is interested. Her plate was very full. I may have mentioned this at the November meeting, but I could see her joining forces with us down the road for art classes, adult art classes.
Well, even just having
Yeah.
Clay McDougall here, she's teaching at Valley
Yeah.
Oak Charter, and they have facilities that we don't have.
Mhm.
You know, it's just, there's so many opportunities to look at ways that we can make sure that the classes are available, you know, to a broader range of people, probably on both sides.
Right. Okay. Anything else on adult education? I'll keep going if not. Okay, then facilities. So I have one section on school district facilities and then one on city facilities. Some of the things we talked about, the Chaparral Auditorium, this being that we are currently constrained by space for some of our current programs. So yoga, fencing, theater, kung fu, music, all these things are competing for our small auditorium and would expand if there was more space available.
Yeah, especially for adult classes.
Right.
For sure.
And we could think of other things that we might be interested in offering programming for if we had more space available. The Matilah Gymnasium for extending the basketball program, possibly on evenings or weekends. And then likewise, the Nordhoff swimming pool, as we have partnered with the school district this past summer, using the pool, kind of any opportunity to extend the use of that, possibly more use in the summer or weekend use year round.
Aren't we currently using the Matilah gym for basketball?
We are.
Yeah.
That
So-
season starts this Saturday.
And some of this, right, some of this is stuff we're doing to some extent, and I haven't really organized it around what we are doing.
Got it.
We could indicate that. And then city facilities, identified Libby Bowl, the rec center game room, and the picnic areas at Surzati Park, all those spaces that some of these are actually being used by the school district for some things. The Libby Bowl, or could be more. Anything on facilities? Okay, and then on-site school programming. I didn't quite know what to call this. I don't know if it would necessarily all be on-site, but currently the rec department is providing after-school care at Topa Topa and Miners Oaks elementary schools. We also talked about possibly providing additional programming like tutoring on-site. I don't know if there's other thoughts for other programming, kind of school-specific, anyone would want to add.
Not at this point.
Okay. Anything else to add to this?
From the audience.
Oh, Councilmember Haney.
I was gonna wait till the end, but I'll interject myself.
Okay.
How about a joint session with the school board? And have it at Sarasota Park? And why not open it to all the kids and all the parents at the school district? And have they come in and give you guys suggestions as to things that they'd like to see, rather than thinking that you guys have to invent the wheel. They're the ones that want the programming. Let them come to you and tell you what they want to program. And then the school board and you can walk away with that with probably a ton of information, and then come back and figure out what you can and can't do.
Hmm?
But I'd have a joint session. Doesn't have to be the whole school board. Could be one or two members. Ask them to send some type of representation, but send it out to all the schools. You know, and I think you'd get a lot of input.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
So,
Thank you, that's a great idea.
Anything else to add to this? I think if not, we can clean this up and
Yeah.
get ready to meet with the school district. And I think Councilmember Haney's idea of maybe organizing a joint meeting, inviting the public would be a good way to get a lot of input.
It's not a lot of public hearing.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on partnerships? Okay, and then the naming committee.
Nothing's happened with that so far. I went through, there's a pretty thick file on what the past naming committee had done and what the rules were, but there's still a lot of stuff in there that's vague. One of the reasons that came up was I had thought there would be a place that we could put plaques for people that, at the rec center or somewhere at Sarzodi Park, for people that had been to be recognized. But most of the information that I saw in there had to do with actually naming buildings or naming benches or naming something, and not smaller individual recognition. So that's something I'll have to look a little farther at. I'll get together again with the rec department staff.
Yeah, a lot, other cities do have policies in that regard, and it's a good starting point, or reach out to find those cities who already have existing
One of my goals
plaque policies.
is to make it as easy to follow, clear and concise, and not get bogged down in a bunch of paperwork that somebody has to do. If in fact they want to recognize somebody within the city.
A simple application process.
Yeah, and a
Is there such a thing?
Well, we're hoping for that.
okay.
Thanks. All right, anything else on committees before we move on? No, okay. Item 8C, election of commission chair and vice chair. So in our handbook, which I don't have, but wording that annually we are supposed to pick a new chair and vice chair. It's recommended that we do it in January. Historically, we haven't. Or if we've done it annually.
Not even close.
Anyway, but that's what it says in the handbook. We should do it in January. And we should do it, well, annually. So I think we should do it. I know the last time we did it was in March, but it'd be nice
Has
to.
it been that long?
It has.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be nice to get on the
Cycle of
on the
it.
cycle. Yeah. It also, the handbook does recommend, or says that typically it's the vice chair that would then become the chair, but it doesn't have to be. So if we have any, I don't know if we need to do any discussion or nominations, then we can move forward.
You go ahead. I
Go
don't
ahead.
see any reason why, at your recommendation, we wouldn't move forward with rotating the
I'm just gonna
chair and
come
vice chair, but you,
with all of my experience over the years, switching every year is not always advantageous. I'm not saying it's not the right thing to do. There's some advantage to having someone do it for a couple of years because they understand what they're doing. And switching every year is like pulling it out every time. I know that everyone read that we have to have a new chair each year. I don't read it that way. I read it that we have an election for a new chair, which is whoever's seated that year. So I'm just gonna put that out there because I think sometimes switching really regularly doesn't lead to a good flow of understanding of what the job is. So
Okay.
I read that differently. This is the same discussion we had last time.
yeah.
I'm right back where I was before. So,
Well, at the chair's discretion too, or we can keep talking about this, but we don't don't
well, we're
necessarily
going,
have to do
we
it
can,
this
we can
evening.
elect another chair, but my point is just that it doesn't have to be a new person.
Right.
You
It's-
can,
it's
you elect a new
unclear,
chair and you
yes.
go through the
Right.
process of the election, but it doesn't mean that you have to elect a new
Yeah.
person each
The-
year.
the handbook
Because that was the
doesn't-
reading that we had of it last
Narcotics,
time,
right?
and I'm kind of like,
Yeah,
that
so-
isn't always an advantage.
So the handbook doesn't explicitly say it has to be a different person.
Right, it's just
It
you're
doesn't say it
electing.
has to be in January, so there's
Yeah, so
It doesn't say it has to, yeah,
Right.
but maybe either of those.
I'm fine with the
things,
timing and keeping it
Right.
on a pattern. I think part of what happened over the years is that it got lost, we lost track of it because we did do it at different times and it wasn't kind of on the calendar. So that isn't the issue I have with it. I just want to be clear that new doesn't mean different.
You
It doesn't need to be a different person.
you could be correct there.
So-
I,
Do we need to make a motion to move past that? If that's
No,
what
I
we
think
wanna
it's a
do,
matter
or-
of I don't think it was ever, I think the fact that we're interpreting it that way
could be a
is,
misinterpretation.
well, it's a choice of interpretation on it. And I'm just bringing forward that I don't view it that way, and that I think that there's sometimes a real advantage to keeping someone in place. I'm just gonna use it, for instance, when we were doing like Libby, the Libby Park and certain things. There are certain places where you want some continuity over a couple of years. And I'm not saying that that's today. I just want to put it out there that we're not adopting a hard and fast policy that every year is a new person.
Right, but I can, if you would like, I can,
I think we're good.
I can get
I don't think we
clarification,
need
I can get
clarification.
clarification on that,
I
as
think
far
the
as
commission
new
can come to
versus.
its
I-
own
What
conclusion
does
on
new
this.
mean? Does it mean the same, we can
I think the
nominate the
commission can
same
come
person?
to its own.
I think it would be
Okay.
simple to just say, are we happy with the way things are, and let's move forward for another year, and let's get past this and move on.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Without an objection from the city attorney,
Short of that.
Well,
Are we
there
okay
could
with
be,
that?
Well, so I would be happy if Ryan is interested in doing it again, to nominate him again.
I'm fine doing it. I think also we are, like you said, we're not at a place where, and I'm not the personality as well, I think, to kind of be driving the commission in a certain direction that I need to stay on as chair.
Right, I don't know, yes.
So I'm happy to do it.
Mm-hmm.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
We haven't had a lot of meetings since I was the
pleased.
chair.
I am.
be it like the lemon or what?
I would be ecstatic if you stayed on for another year. So to me, that makes perfect sense to me.
Would you like to second my nomination?
I would like to second your nomination.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second.
Okay.
All in favor?
All
Aye.
in favor?
And then,
Okay.
and I would happily like to nominate Commissioner Murphy for a second term as vice chair if he's interested in doing that.
Which would be fine.
Okay. So
I'll
then,
second that.
okay, all in favor?
We have a second from,
Aye.
Aye.
We're
Aye.
good, we're done.
okay,
Yeah, I know.
right.
Check.
Moving on.
all right.
And we did it in January.
Yeah, we have equal opportunity.
Then we have to talk about term limits after that.
Next year,
Yeah, right.
next January.
Right.
Okay, so staff updates.
Okay, we'll just get through
Item
these.
9.
Our winter, spring activity guide is out. I guess I will do it by a show of hands. Did everyone receive their activity guide in the mail?
Yes, I got
That
it.
live in the valley. That means
The valley.
Miners Oaks 93023 and 93022.
Did I get a winter one?
I got
Everyone
it.
did?
Mhm.
Yeah, I must
You
have.
got yours,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
No.
Ms. Gilbert? No?
We've been having mail problems though, so
Oh,
it's probably not
okay.
your fault.
And I've brought one here this evening for you to peruse through. I don't remember what page the library, did
I saw it. It's wonderful. Thank you for
yeah.
getting that
Library
organized and
ad is
together.
in there, and
It's a real service to the community.
I can't remember, Ron, I just think of Swanson from Parks and Rec, sorry. Ron, I can't remember his last name.
Mensdale,
Yeah, he was very appreciative of us having that in there, and hopefully, when we talk about partnerships and developing partnerships, that's hopefully another one we can develop with the library.
I know it
As far
was,
as joint use of space.
I know it was, it's on the 4th page.
Oh.
I know it was short notice, but I really appreciate that you guys worked so hard to get it done and get it in there. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
you.
thanks to our
Oh,
new rec specialist, Megan.
Very nice.
Senate. Yeah, she actually designed this, so.
I'd like to take a second to thank you for correctly spelling both my first and last name.
You're welcome, finally, after,
Check mine.
I don't know if we recalled exactly how many,
I think it was 3 or
petitions.
4
3 or 4.
times that
Yeah.
was misspelled.
That's okay. My name
We
tag
were
was
just-
wrong for almost a year.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure you were looking through the guide and That was our way of,
That's just
that was our
checkouts,
way
right?
of doing it.
It became a post on Facebook, believe it or not.
So this guide, as you saw, or maybe as you noticed in the back of the activity guide, this big take our survey, online survey. That survey was trying to get feedback from our users, and we plan to put this survey out annually of, what was your favorite activity? What aren't we offering that you would like to see? What's the your customer service experience when you come to the office? So it would be great if commissioners, if you went
already took
on
it.
to, you already took the survey.
Because you also sent out an email.
So, what's that?
You also sent out an email.
We did. We sent out a mass email asking folks to take the survey. So we've had over 100 response. We put it
good.
out on January 1st, and we've had over 100 responses to that survey.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. Yep. So we're looking for more feedback from the community. It would be great to get that. But we do, again, expect to put this survey out annually. And I'm happy to say on that, so far, the results of the front office customer service experience has been 9 out of 10, with 10 being the best. So we're
Are you,
happy with
when
that.
you send out, is it possible when you send out receipts for registrations to attach that link to it?
We could potentially do that through ActiveNet.
I think it's not a bad idea, but they'll
I'll-
just have had an
I'll-
experience with registering, and it's a perfect time to catch them.
Yeah.
Like a Jack in the Box receipt or something.
Well, or like when you call certain companies and they call you right back after you've just had that, I just, if there's
Yeah.
a possibility of automating that with the receipt, that would be great.
I'll look into that. Yeah, ActiveNet is actually very they're pretty customer service friendly, and they're,
Okay.
we always realize we're still just on the surface, even though we've had it a while, of tapping
All that they have.
all that they have and what the uses of ActiveNet.
I also think the whole idea of the gift certificate is always really nice right after you've just spent money.
Yeah.
Makes you think
Yeah.
about that's a good idea.
And I think that was part of the reason we got a decent amount of feedback, is because of the gift certificate offer.
Well, and
the
just
drawing.
to piggyback on Eric's thought was, if you could, or maybe it was Sage's, I'm sorry, about supplying this information on a receipt would be, if they fill out the survey, maybe they get $1 off the next registration, or
Yeah, we thought about that.
there's a way to do it.
That's complicated.
Yeah,
But it's
that
getting
was our.
But maybe through
It was
the,
we thought about
ActiveNet,
even
maybe.
more, $5.
Well,
We
whatever
thought
it
about a
was.
$5 thing too. If
Yeah.
you fill out the survey, we get $5 off. And I can't remember right now in this spot why we thought, aside of the logistics of it, why it might be a little too complicated. But it is, again, another outreach to ActiveNet to say,
but that is
is
yeah.
that easy?
Yeah.
Is it a simple process?
It's
Is
just
it easy
supplying
for us
people a
to do?
motivation to do something.
Right.
Right? It's the Pavlovian theory
Yeah,
of,
sure. It's
online
just like
surveys.
getting folks to come to a joint meeting, in that announcement, it's we're having a raffle and we're providing food and snacks, or, whatever it is to get them there. What's the incentive to get people to come to your
Well-
open house, to a joint meeting? You do have to provide
As this
some
becomes,
incentive.
this is new, so this is
Yeah.
the inception of this process
This
and doing,
is-
which I think is
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And I think over time, there may be ways to use it in a more focused way. With certain registrations, like if you can build it into the registration, if you have a specific project or something you really need feedback on, we can start to maybe hone in on getting feedback on really specific points,
Yeah,
which I think would be wonderful.
yeah. But, well, thank you for filling out the survey, and if you haven't done so, go.
And it didn't take
go
long.
very- Yeah, it's a very
Quick.
quick, easy survey, so.
and we could do a cheap plug, like hold this up and go, folks, fill out the survey on the back of your program.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, should we
Go
keep
for
going?
that $50 gift certificate, random drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to point out about the activity guide?
Well, I'll talk about it. It's in the guide. It's also on my updates. Our next movie night, parent night out, I'll call it, will be January 26th. Rise of the Guardians. I'm not super familiar with that movie myself.
It's a
but
very good movie.
yeah. All right. I like that endorsement. And as I've always mentioned, it's 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Drop off at 6. Movie starts at 7. They get popcorn, pizza, drink, all for $10 for 3 hours.
That's a steal.
Yeah, and we've had great success with it. The numbers fluctuate, but on average, we're talking 50 to 60 in attendance on those movie nights. So parents are very happy to have that as an offering. But nothing particularly stands out in the guide. We have partnered with Oh Yes, and still have had not great success with that partnership and trying to get theater to evolve at the rec department. I'm not quite sure why that hasn't taken off. But as always, the pottery classes seem to be the most successful. It is one of the most successful new program that we have. We are offering Mandarin as another new class, Mandarin Chinese. We did get Sandcastle music back. That's that the infant to 5-year-old music class. So that was gone for, I don't know, now 6-9 months, and we found another instructor to come back and teach that class. And that had a decent amount of interest when we offered it in the past. So we're excited about that. Happy to have that program back. And tennis is, the youth tennis program is flourishing, although because of the fire, we had to cancel pretty much half of the session. So
Right.
It's been a bit of a challenge trying to reschedule classes, but we're making it work. So I talked about movie night. Nothing else in the activity guide if you don't have any specific questions about that. Bike park, I don't have any updates unless you do, Ryan, about it. Okay.
Yeah, I talked to Toby Joe Green, and it sounds like the bike coalition is kind of in a lull as far as their progress. They're still working on what's needed for the environmental report on the Lower Libby area. I think some of the people who have been driving this are maybe a little burnt out because it has been a long time and there hasn't been a lot of progress. She was interested in getting some actual bike park designers to come and help with an actual design for the park as a way to kind of move the environmental report forward and also motivate the bike coalition. But I get the feeling that the ball might be moving towards our court with this. If we want to see this move forward, I think it might take more involvement on our end than the bike. I think the expectation was that the bike coalition would just take this and run with it. And it's just been a very slow process and not a lot of progress. So that might be something for a future agenda item if the commission's interested, if we want to take a more active role in.
Well, part of me tends to think if the bike coalition is flat on it, is there really a need for it, period?
Right.
And to go to where we want to go with that, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's putting a lot of time in it for something that may not have an interest level worth moving forward on.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Right. There's this kind of self-regulating process, right? That if they're interested enough, they will get what needs to be done. But is there interest in bringing this up as a discussion item, or are we just happy to kind of wait and if something happens, something happens?
My take is what I said. I would wait until they came to us again and said, hey, we've got some interest now. What should be the next step? Otherwise, leave it alone.
Okay.
That's my take.
Mm-hmm. Others?
I think looking at it from our CIP and our priorities and our top priorities where it falls, I don't know that it's a top priority as far as what we were going to work on this year. So to agendize it right now without movement, I'm not sure why we would do that.
Right. Well, we have had budget in the plan for it. So in that sense,
Yes, but I think as we've looked at what our top priority for our CIP project was, that is not what that's not what I've heard us saying. So
right.
when you start to put our energy toward working at something where, there's only so many things we can work on at once. So from my perspective, if it comes back to us with momentum,
Mm-hmm.
that moves it. But if it's coming back to us to create the momentum, for me, it isn't the top priority of project
Okay.
that we've identified.
And I don't even know if that's our job, to create momentum. I think our job would be to act on
Well, no,
existing momentum.
I think if we choose a project that we want to get behind and it's something we're very serious about moving forward, we move it forward. I don't
Right.
think it's
For example, the multi-sport.
Like the
the multi-sport
Yes.
court, which is what we keep talking about and
Right.
where we seem to be coming back to something we really want to see happening in the near future.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Eric, Maya? anything else?
Yeah, I don't know how much we can even do without them, you know, moving forward with their plans. So I feel like we should wait until they come to us again and tell us this is what we need help with, what should we do next, and then we can help them out.
I echo that.
Mhm.
And, do we have a liaison with them that we speak to on a regular basis?
Yes.
You're looking at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, this is helpful. Good. So we
And it
don't
sounds like
need
it's
to
moving
agendize
behind
it.
the scenes, not quickly, but they're checking off the boxes and moving through some of the, what they need to get through to get to the next step.
In
It's
fits and
just slow.
starts.
Okay.
There's been some progress. So, okay, good. Thank you.
Movie night, we got that.
And along those multi-sport courts, well, since we brought it up, that's the next 8D. So the plan was in our November Park and Rec meeting to schedule a field trip out to a couple of sites that had courts of a similar nature. Unfortunately, we just, that
It just moves,
field trip never
just
materialized
moves forward to
due
an.
to many
yeah.
reasons, most notably the Thomas fire.
So do we just table it
so
till,
we want to table it.
Yeah.
I will reach out to those that, Commissioner Firestone and Murphy, who expressed interest in going on that field trip, and with Greg Grant. So I'll once again try to schedule that, assuming Wednesdays and Thursdays are still the best days for both of you.
For me, they are.
Okay.
Thursday's preferable.
Okay, Wednesdays and Thursdays, I still have that here. And then trying to set at least a rough layout at Sarasota, getting Mr. Grant to come out and do some rough layout at the park and see what it
And-
would look like.
and
what
you're gonna
those
put
courts would
that
look
out
like.
to everybody?
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, and once we have it sort of painted out, similar to what we did with the picnic shelters, where they kind of did some rough painting, and then you guys could come out and,
Well, I don't even know if we'll
Check
do
it out.
that because we're not that far in the project, but even if you could just go out there with us and stake it for a day.
okay, yeah.
Because I think when they did that, we were very clear on where we were going with the project.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any sort of Brown Act issues with,
We could just do it as a
Doing it.
special meeting and you can agendize it
Yeah.
and we can meet out there and we're covered if we do that. And if other people want to show up, they can show up.
sure, I'll look into how
Right,
to make
but
that happen.
Is that, I mean, just marking it with spray paint like they did for the picnic,
Uh-huh.
and then just sending a note out.
Yeah,
to
just
us.
setting a
Then we
note
can go
out
look
saying,
at it.
hey, you
That
can
seems like
come
it'd
out
be
and
That's
look at it.
simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unless we have,
That's what I was
unless we
suggesting.
want
That's what I
Greg
was
there and we
suggesting.
want to discuss, like, see it and have him there to ask questions at the same time, then we could.
Yeah. There's those two options.
I know I'm having a
But
brain.
making a meeting, having you all come out and have a kind of
Well,
talk
it's-
there.
if you don't even have, if we didn't have a quorum, it wouldn't hurt anything. It's one of those things
Right.
where I don't think, but ask the question.
Yeah.
But I think if you said it and it's a special meeting and you're out there, and if you have a quorum, then you're covered. And if you don't, it doesn't matter.
Right.
As long as it's posted.
Okay.
I ask the question.
I'll
you know,
look
see
I'll
how
look
it works.
into
Yeah.
it. Unfortunately,
be
I don't know
nice-
enough about.
It would be
the-
nice to to be able to ask great questions there and that moment, not a month later, or, I just think that sometimes we were having these discussions that we have a question and then a month later we kind of get an answer to that question, but then we have another question. So I wouldn't mind having a focused time to come out with our questions
And
on the site.
I'm also wondering if you can stake it or paint it with the Quonset hut still there.
I think so.
Around
I
it.
think so.
You'll just know
Around-
that that won't be
I
there.
do
It
think
takes
we
away
can
from the
around it.
visual part of the,
I think we can do it. I mean, it's going to run through it. Yeah, for sure. So,
okay.
we usually, like with the picnic shelters, we just did basically the corners. Yeah, wasn't too.
It was helpful.
It was helpful.
Just gave you a sense of where it was going to be.
Yeah, But I'll look into the special meeting and what that would require, because I do agree with you. Like there are questions now, I think there'll be quite a few pointed questions while Greg's there would be nice instead of.
Yeah, but staff will be able to direct us the best way to do it.
Yeah, maybe, hopefully we can do the field trip first and then.
Okay.
We'll-
Anything else on multi-sport courts?
We're excited about them. We really, to have those outdoor basketball courts there would be a gem. I just think of it now when the basketball season's coming up, and I just think of having nice courts that are right by the rec department that our users would have access to. But anyway, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Classes and events, I mentioned those already. Yeah, already talked about. I'm trying to think of any big special events that we have come up. I know we want to do another Libby Under the Lights. That seems to be fallen, but those were well received and good times. So I'll write myself a note to see if we can schedule one of those soon. Those are nice community events.
Mm-hmm.
And the community needs something.
Yeah.
A little boost wouldn't be a bad idea at this point.
Yeah, little morale booster.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, getting the community out together.
Yeah.
And that would be a good way to do it.
Great idea.
Yeah. Commissioner vacancies, so I know that has been dragging along, just along the lines of the
We
bike
lost a
park.
month.
Yeah,
So-
but we've got applicants, I think 4.
Oh,
Oh,
excellent.
that's good.
Yeah, and, but one has to be in city, we need one in city and one out of city as far as how the makeup is required, the makeup requirements need to be 4 in city on the commission and 3 non-resident on the commission, so we need 1 of each.
Is that how it reads?
It does.
Well,
There needs
it
to be
doesn't
4.
have to be.
I don't, as I say, I
Well,
don't
it
think it
needs
has
to-
to
oh,
be.
sorry.
I think that
It has to be 4.
Well, in city is the
In
only
city.
have to.
Right, you could have
Beyond
6.
that, it can
Well,
be.
you could have 6 in city if
Yeah,
you
just
want.
to be clear there, because it's not written that you have to have a certain number
You're
of
in
each.
city now.
Well-
I'm out.
3.
I'm in.
I'm in.
All right.
We have to have
One more in
one
city.
more in. We could
Okay.
have
Beyond
all
that-
be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
I
true.
just wanted to be clear. I
Sure.
wanted clarification.
Right, it
So-
doesn't, right.
The question I have
Mhm.
is we have these 2 vacancies. We have applicants, we've had applicants for a
Yes.
while. Can we when we have the.
I heard,
It's at the meetings.
Can we pick one commissioner? I know we can't, we're still looking for, in city.
right, we have that. We have an in-city. and
How
I
about
think-
this? Even
yeah.
beyond the details of discussing this tonight, can we move forward to interviews?
I think that's the question.
Oh, yeah, it
Okay,
is. So I
so-
talked with our records manager today, and she said in the next couple of weeks, they
Okay.
will be setting up those interviews,
Thank you.
That's
which
good.
involves
Yes,
the chair
commissioners,
and,
yeah.
and the mayor, I believe.
Oh, it's just
For
one-
those interviews. I
okay.
think it's just those 2 that do
Okay.
the interviews.
That isn't the way it's been done historically,
It's
but
been 2, there's
It's
also another.
You
You
two
tell me.
commissioners.
Yeah.
2 commissioners and
Yeah.
the mayor?
That's what it was
It could
when I
be.
interviewed.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay, so,
It'll be coming soon.
but we're still accepting applications?
still accepting
Is
applications,
that-
yes.
Is that correct? People can still submit applications?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's
I know on the website it says there is an opening for somebody in city, but are we also accepting applications for people that are not?
is that what
in
it says on the city website?
Today.
Oh.
And did we put a deadline on it?
I
Well,
don't,
we had,
We
but
need
I
to do
think,
that.
multiple times,
Yeah.
because we haven't
But
had,
we have a windfall of candidates
But
now.
but not in city.
but I do think it's no, not in city. I do think we could put something ongoing until filled, something.
And I would question why you would limit it to just in city personally.
That's it, right.
If you have, well, I know it's a separate issue, but if you're still accepting them, just accept,
That's-
as
yes.
anyone who wants to
Yeah.
apply may apply. Especially looking for in-city candidates
Right.
would be a better way to do it than excluding other candidates.
Yeah, and just to get another one on the commission as quickly as possible, since we do have one other
Exactly.
opening that can be filled by anybody.
Well, we don't actually, because you're supposed to have 4. in
Right, but we
city.
have 2 openings. So
Right.
one could be filled by,
But I think
Theoretically,
what
right.
the first one
It's
we need to
true.
get needs to be in city, because we need 4 of that. Because the other opening could be either way after, anyway, leave this to the staff people to decide where it all lies from my perspective, but it's complicated.
But it's coming. The interviews are coming. That's the first
And
step.
anyone who wants to apply, please apply.
Please apply.
It's
Yes.
open.
Regardless of what the website says.
Yes,
Yes.
just apply.
Exactly. Well, we'll try to fix that up a bit.
Okay,
If it,
thank
if-
you.
I'll have to look at it
Yeah.
and
Anyone
we'll
who's interested and wants to
clarify
serve.
it. Yeah. And then the firefighter plaque, we already talked about that. So and we will, well, once we get to that agenda item, we'll talk about
Mhm.
agendizing that as a discussion item.
Okay.
And I don't have any other information. Oh, wait a minute, do I? We do have a new staff. So I think a new rec specialist front office staff. Her name is Anita Wilson Chisholm. She was actually working our after-school program at Topatopa last year and this year. But she replaced Ariana, who is no longer with the department. I mentioned the survey. During the Thomas fire, when we had school closures, we did provide a week of childcare.
That was great.
Yeah, it was
Did a
really
really
well
wonderful
received.
job.
Yeah, thanks.
On the
And,
fly.
Yeah, we basically used our after-school care staff who were losing hours
Right.
because they didn't have, we didn't have our after-school care going, so it was appreciated by them too, to not lose all those hours with the school closures. And school was even out as of Tuesday. They got an extra day on Tuesday, so we provided childcare on that day as well, and had, I think, 45 kids come to that.
That was great. You guys, you guys should be very proud.
Yeah, we
You're
were.
able to get it together and get it done, because that was
Yep.
huge service to the community.
Yeah, and the parents were super appreciative
I bet
because
they
they had to
were.
go back to work.
Yeah.
And why do I have field trip down here? Oh, that was for us, our field trip. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Item 10, Commissioner Committee Reports. So we did talk about committees. Anything else from commissioners?
So we still have the teen workshops planned. I still want to do them, hopefully, maybe at least once a month. The basic outlines we have are like a college and scholarship one, resume building, interview skills, and something along the lines of home ec. I wanted to do an auto one, but I couldn't find anyone who was willing to teach that and bring materials. So that one's scratched, but I'm still talking with Allison about exact dates and times. Hopefully on early Saturday mornings is our goal.
Is there a possibility, have you approached the high school?
Yes,
And, okay, that is not an option. Okay.
I tried.
Good. Well, I'm glad you tried. Good for you.
what sort of things are you looking for with auto?
Just basic, like how to change a tire, how to change your oil, how to change a filter, which has come up a lot recently.
Yeah.
The car filters, just some basic stuff, you know. I don't know anything about cars, so
I may have a name for you of somebody that might be interested. He
Okay.
teaches auto shop down at Ventura College.
Okay.
And he's got a repair place in town.
Oh, nice.
So I'll give you
Okay.
that name.
Okay, thank you.
Put it out there. There you go.
And are any of these scheduled right now, or you're
We're
figuring out when?
still working on it.
When are you
There's been a lot of
thinking?
stuff coming up, so
Yeah,
we're hoping maybe late February for our first one, early
Okay.
March. We want to do it soon.
great.
Sorry, Chair Firestone, can I go back to updates
Yeah.
real quick? Our youth basketball program, league, starts this Saturday. So officially starts our games. I've been roped in, I should say, to coach 3rd and 4th grade girls team. So I'm back in the coaching. I haven't coached since my daughter played how many years ago that was. So she's 26 now. That would have been 8 minus 8,
Don't do
14 years ago. 18 years ago, somewhere, however long it's been since I've coached girls basketball. But it was fun today to be back out there
for
with
you.
third and fourth grade girls and coaching.
And could I use all the power I wield as vice chair to get my grandson's game to move up earlier so I can go?
No,
Okay, just checking. All right, good.
absolutely not. What division is he in?
He's playing the second grade, I think.
Oh, second grade.
He's
Isn't that
just-
10? Isn't that 10 a.m.?
I work at
It-
9, so.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Yeah, K through first is at the 9 a.m. time slot, and then it's second grade at 10 a.m. I'm sorry, there's no.
I'm just, you know,
I'll make that clear, just for the
I
public
have to
too.
supply
We
pressure
do
elsewhere.
have a steadfast policy now with game schedules. We do not make game schedule or time schedule requests. And I know that seems like a hard line, but that has proven to be
no.
not work well to change
I'm
games.
sure.
Like
No,
you don't see that. You know,
I
I know
was
I know you're only teasing, of course, but you don't see any professional teams making schedule changes that it can wreak havoc when you do that. Anyhow, but youth basketball starts this weekend at the Matilaha Gym and the Sarasota Park ORD.
Excellent.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks. Commissioner Gilbert, back to the youth committee. Are you meeting?
Yeah, we were supposed to meet in December, but that didn't happen,
So
so
many things.
Do you have another meeting planned?
not yet.
Okay. Are you thinking about when or what you would
Very
meet for?
soon,
Okay,
probably in the next week or two.
okay. And what are you hoping to cover?
Schedule
Okay.
and actually when we're gonna do it, and then maybe rework on our poster to get those out and just get things rolling.
Great. Thank you. Any other commissioner reports, updates? No. Okay. We have, for item 11, the very patient Councilmember Haney. Thanks for coming and sitting through our meeting.
Good evening, guys. So first of all, let me start with a sincere thank you for all of that you did last year. I know we didn't have the commissioner dinner this year because of all the things that were going on, but, so I just want to say thank you. I hope all of us as council, people that, as liaisons, that we actually do say thank you. So, so again, thank you again. So Fender doesn't want to do this car thing? Is that what you're saying?
No, I haven't been able to speak to him directly, but it sounds like he's too busy.
Okay, so him and I are really good friends. Why don't I call him and see what I can help you out with that?
Okay.
And maybe what you do is, because he teaches auto shop, maybe what you do is conduct your class on a Saturday,
Yeah.
maybe a Saturday morning, and I'll help him do that, and I'll support him with that if I can convince him.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
So I put a lot of notes on here. Raffles are giving discounts, monetary in exchange for things. I think you guys might think that through.
Say that again.
If you set a fee and you want to change your fees, or you're taking money away from the city. So I'm just saying, think how you do that. If you're gonna give something, maybe you look at some underperforming classes, and maybe you direct people to, one of the classes.
Free class or a,
Yeah, but
that I'm not filling anyway.
right. Okay, so I'm just saying, but I think that through, because I don't know if you want to give away money. I don't know if a dollar means anything to someone. I look at I don't want to get too political here, but I look at if you make $75,000 a year, I think you get $750,000 or a $750 tax break under this new tax program. So I did the math and I divided it by 365, and you get a whole $2 a day. So you might get a cup of coffee if you're making $75,000 a year under.
Not at Starbucks.
So I know my wife goes, "So where do you get a $2 cup of coffee?" And I said, "I'll direct you to a lot of donut shops." So then I also went for the bike park in Toby, and the fact that I haven't heard anything from them recently. But how long did it take to do the skate park? How many years?
Oh, so long.
And
Depends on when you start the clock.
Yeah.
and maybe reconnecting Toby with Sunday, because Sunday did spearhead that. And Sunday might be able to just share the pain and the growth and all of that it takes to develop something like that. And then the other question that I might propose to Toby is is there an environmental impact study that they're having to provide? And who required that?
City
City,
council.
right, yeah.
So again, you might have her contact a council person and see if we can meet and talk about that and figure out, is there another way around it? You know, or what can we do to help them? That's how I'd approach that. Okay, I'm not saying skirt it, I'm just saying,
No.
set her up to talk to somebody, and see if we can set up a meeting with the CDD and with Greg Grant and just talk about what is required and what can we do and can't do, okay? Movie nights, I saw the movie that you're showing. I don't know if it's appropriate for toddlers, so I don't know if you have 50 or 60 people coming in, what the age group is, but that's probably a 12 and 13 and 14 up movie.
Rise
I
of
don't
the
know.
Guardians?
Yeah, I
It's
don't,
animated.
it's animated
that.
adult, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'd have my 9-year-old or my 8-year-old.
A lot of those have a lot of double, because they want to engage the adults as well as
Yeah,
the kids.
so it's
Yeah, I know
it's
what-
a fine
exactly what
line
you're
on that
talking
one, I'm just saying.
I'll review it
Yeah.
then, because we have changed, we don't.
I'm just
we
saying,
have we have changed movie selection
Right.
before.
And it's not necessarily overly violent, but it is, you know, like I said, for 7, 8, and 9-year-olds, maybe even 10, I think it'd be a marginal one. The priority for the CIP funding this year, did I hear, is the multi-sports court? Because I want to be able to share that with council.
Yes.
Okay, and then the next thing I heard was that to do the proper layout, you need to remove the hut.
I believe that's
And I
going,
think
I
that's
believe
Not
the
the
Quonset
hut.
hut.
And I think that can be done in-house, so you might even pursue with Greg and find out, is there a time frame for that? And get that done so that you can do a proper layout. But if you're doing it in-house, I think you just need to ask Greg if he has a time frame for it. I had some other notes. So, the skate park, you know, we've got an existing ordinance on it and the use of it. I don't necessarily think bringing it back because we had one complaint is in the best interest of the commission or the community.
Is it just one complaint?
Yeah, one formal,
Recent one,
one
yeah.
recent formal.
And,
I've had a couple other phone calls
And I also-
specifically in relation to scooters.
So I
being
also
in the
think
park.
too, that one of the things in the master plan was actually, didn't you guys have a little scooter track?
The path.
Yeah.
There's going to be a
so-
path around the perimeter of.
So I think it'd be great to actually bring those people, those folks into the fold so that they're starting to support what you're doing at the parks. And let them know that as soon as we can get these things moving, that there'll be a scooter park for these kids. And also direct them to, the bike, people and see what they could do. You know, maybe there's something in that parking lot where they could actually set up a little area just for little scooters.
Scooters.
Okay. Sketchy areas in parks, sometimes we just have them. I remember growing up, we all grew up with sketchy areas in our parks, okay? And then they were talking about the multiple groups that helped everyone in the fire. There was a lot of groups, and they're still helping. And any time that we can take the opportunity to say thank you to them, I think we should. And it's interesting that this group in particular is outside of Ojai. And that just comes back to that thing of once an Ohioan, always an Ohioan. So, you know, even if you leave here, you're still somehow connected here. So it's really great to see that. Naming application, if I look around this room, there's a bunch of pictures of past council members. So there's got to be something, there's already got to be a rule. And if you go to the high school, if you go into the cafeteria, that entire wall is set up with past student athletes, bronze shoe winners. And so I don't think that you guys would be asking too much to petition council to create your own wall in your own rec center with people that you feel you know, deserve a picture up on your wall. So I think that's it. You guys need to discuss that. But I don't think that that'd be too difficult to get done. Do all council members, are they all on the mailing list, or do we get a recreation brochure in our box?
You should get it in the box.
You should get it, I mean, you should be on, it should get mailed to everyone in the valley
Okay.
anyway.
Okay. Because I haven't received mine yet, so that's why I was just
And I already
wondering.
got mine, and we're on the same.
Right. Okay. So I'm I was just wondering. In fact, if I could borrow that, it'd be great. My granddaughter's 2, and
Okay.
she's, wants to be a tumbler.
I've put I didn't put them out.
You can have mine.
I have a bunch right
Okay.
here.
And, you know, the request for the plaque, on the corner of, is that a park? Is that a dedicated
I
park?
believe it is. There was a name for it when they put the original rock there. It escapes me at the moment, but I think it was designated a park.
I know the area was designated, as a memorial to Pat Weinberger.
Right.
But I'm not sure if it's a dedicated park, so you might want to check with that, because maybe we need to send these people to council or to Gray Grant. You just might do that. When I was sitting there, I was thinking, God, is that a dedicated park? Because I know it's our property, but I'm not sure if it's dedicated park.
Yeah, okay.
Pickleball. So, I'm surprised that if Sophocles, if Tim Kraut
Tim Kraut with a K.
had met with you, that you didn't bring him immediately underneath the Recreation and Parks banner. Pickleball is the #1 growing sport in the United States. My sister is a pickleball player. They start out with a rank from 2 to 5, and once you pass 5, then you're ranked as a professional, and then it's a whole different thing. My sister's a 4.5. She wins a ton of tournaments, and it's big in Sacramento, huge. So I would think trying to figure out how to bring him in and creating an adult pickleball league would be pretty beneficial. And it is for people our age and older, actually. So, and then along with that is, what is the process for an applicant to come to you and ask to be a part of your program?
We have an activity proposal form. So when they first come in and inquire, or they say, hey, I want to offer this at your facility.
Did you offer him one?
We talked about, he wasn't reaching out for that. And then we eventually in the conversation got to once we develop interest in the valley, we'll talk again about starting a league once we can get the ball, once he can get the ball rolling with developing interest. He said he would be interested in
coming back,
providing a league. Yeah.
And then I wasn't, for some reason I had wandered when you were talking about Soul Park. Could you guys fill me in again, Pat, on where you are on that, and who you've met with? And
It didn't really talk with anybody. There was an existing file from when we looked at this several years ago. The commission looked at this several years ago. So the numbers that I was looking at were incredibly outdated. It was from 11 and 12, I think.
Right.
So there isn't a whole lot there to kind of sink anybody's teeth into at this point. So I want to get some more current numbers. Because the plan, it looked like, was if we reimburse the county for the revenue from the barbecues and the parking, could we then take control of the park and use it for our own programs? I'm not sure if that's really the direction we want to go anyway, but that's what was sort of in the file that I looked at.
yeah, I remember I met with the director for the county on that. That might have been some paperwork I actually gave you. I'm not sure, but. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But they work that facility at a negative. It does not make money. It costs them money. So to me, ideally, it would be for us to actually get a lease from them for maybe $1 a year and get some type of a 50-year lease on it, and then actually allow us to program and actually take over it. So to do that, there's a lot to think about. What it's going to cost to maintain it, how do you upgrade the facility, or how do you keep the facility as it is? There's a lot of things that you're going to have to look at, but
Yeah.
I think it'd just be a boon for us. And even when I sit and listen to you guys talk about the fact that you can't provide enough programming because you don't have enough facilities, and I'm sitting back here going, maybe that rec center needs to be built sooner than later. When you really think about it, or do we really need to reach out to the community, especially the school district? Because they have a lot of abandoned buildings, and what can we do? So I think your next intentions of going and meeting with them, I think, is a great thing. And again, it's a win for the community, so. And I think, because I did talk to you about the joint session with the school board, I think that was it. And again, thank you guys for all that you do, and I know you don't get a big crowd here. We never had a big crowd either. And in fact, getting back to your voting for your nomination thing, I remember, I think I was chair for almost 6 years. When I got appointed to the commission, we were electing positions, and no one wanted to be chair and no one wanted to be vice chair. So they said, good, you're the new guy, you're the vice chair. And I'll never forget that, because no one wanted to be it. But there is continuity when you guys are really doing a lot of good things. So there's some things that if you keep the leadership in place, you'll be able to move through those things more smoothly. So, and I agree with the interpretation. You can nominate anybody, even if you nominate Ryan again, like you guys did. There's nothing that says you have to rotate, you just have to nominate. So, and you did that. So, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Randy.
Thanks for coming. All right. Well, does anyone have any questions for Randy while he's here? Okay. Item 12, future meeting dates and agenda items. So our next meeting, which would be February 1st, Thursday. So I heard 2 possible agenda items, one scooters and bikes in the skate park, and the other the plaque for the firefighter. Is there interest in agendizing either of those?
Just based on what Councilman Haney just said, that if there's an existing ordinance already in play, and we've had, in essence, one phone call, I don't see a reason to address it any further, to be honest.
I think that staff should monitor it. I think that we need to have an awareness of what's happening there, but as far as agendizing it to our agenda, I don't think we need to do that. I think we have the rules in place, we have the signage in place, we've done this a couple of times already. So I don't think we need to do, I don't think there's anything to be accomplished from that. But I do think from a staff perspective, knowing what's going on and kind of keeping the pulse of things and trying to maybe monitor it just visually a little more to see what you're seeing, it would be helpful on that side of things. But nothing, I don't think our commission needs to see it. And then I think the plaque is a good idea to bring that back.
Yes.
So, okay, on the scooters and bikes, is anyone interested in agendizing that? Okay, it sounds like we'd need to hear more
about it.
public
Okay,
outcry.
Well, or we need to look internally, staff needs to look at, are we doing what we need to do?
Right.
You guys need to do some analysis on what's happening there, just
Right.
with some
Well,
observational.
Sure. Well,
We
it not-
have tools we've used in the past when we've had problems. It expands and contracts.
Well, I do think there, you know, and I'm not going to stand here and defend the scooter community, but I do think there are some
Is
change.
there a scooter community?
There is a scooter community, and I do think there are some changes in the future on the uses of skateboard parks and not making them just exclusive to skateboards. I think there's
Are you asking to bring that, are you, okay, but so,
No, but I'm
so
not
we're not
asking you-
wanting to
I'm
do
not-
any of that
I'm
right now.
not asking you to
So right
bring
now,
it.
we have
I'm
very
just-
specific policies.
Right, and I'm following up on your keeping up as city staff, keeping up on the pulse of what's happening in, not just in this community, but
Oh, I'm specifically saying toward what's going on in our park right now. These are our
Right.
rules. And we know that we've had times where it's gotten worse, and we've had issues with a lot of scooters, and then we've had times with less scooters, and we've had strategies that we've used, staff has, at different times to,
try to reduce that.
yes, and to
issue.
fix it. And so I think that's on a staff side thing.
Sure.
Well, I think there's two topics here. One is the current rules and if they're being respected, if that's an issue. The other is if there's any interest in revisiting those rules.
Right.
Right.
I think there's a third thing too, and that's how policy is conveyed to the public. And I think that was the biggest issue regarding this incident, was the fact that there wasn't anyone there, because we don't man it, to actually explain to these, this young couple and their child that the scooters were not allowed there. The person that intervened didn't, poorly communicated the policy. And staff has dealt with that. So that's what I'm saying. I would like to see if there's a scooter issue, let them come to council or let them come to here, and let them bring that up to you before you guys decide to tackle something that isn't.
Sure.
But I think, again, it's part of how that policy was explained in that moment.
Right,
And-
because the
and-
policy is clear,
Right.
the signage is clear,
Sure.
Right.
there's not a lot of gray area in it.
No. And maybe it is an educational thing too, on our website, on our
Scooters.
Facebook page. We need to make a push again to remind the public and educate the public on what is and isn't allowed in the
The
park.
rules.
The
Mhm.
rules of the park, sure.
Okay, so no agenda item there. And then the other one, the plaque for the firefighters. It sounds like we could put it conditionally on the agenda, but we do want to check in with
Yeah.
Greg to make sure that this is actually
Is it
a
a
park.
park? Yes. Is it
Um,
under our purview? Yes.
Yeah, and if not, we're just pointing.
Pass it along.
Passing
Okay.
them along.
Yeah, and you and I can obviously, once I get that information,
Yeah,
then put it on if that's what
right.
the one contingency is to it.
Uh-huh. Anything else for the agenda for February?
I didn't bring my notes. I think we had other things and I can't remember what they were.
Yeah, I'd have to reach back onto
We can
video,
always
onto video.
email you with.
Right,
We're
Thoughts or
hoping to
ideas
get
if
Greg here
yes.
for reports on the bathrooms at Libby, updates on that. Because I think we were hoping for that this month.
Okay.
A bathroom update, and then hopefully by then we'll have more to talk about with
Well, the
multi-sport
sport
courts.
court, yeah, just it as a discussion item.
Mhm.
So you want, you'd like to see multi-sport courts back on as a discussion item next meeting? Is that what you're saying?
If we have enough to discuss. I
Okay,
think it would be good to have it on there.
all right.
We haven't had the field trip or anything by then. That seems to be no movement.
We wouldn't.
So why would we put it on there?
Well, we'll put it on if we are able. I mean, if we do that field trip and we do.
That's what I mean,
get-
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
I hear you, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then I think it'd be good to keep the kind of, I like explicitly spelling out the ad hoc committees in the agenda for updates. Hopefully it keeps us on task. Anything else for February? Anything else beyond February that we want to put on the radar? Okay, then we can adjourn. This meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Maya, the other person, in case member Haney's person doesn't check out, it's a guy named Jim Doyle. And it's Doyle Automotive down on Giant Street.
Thanks, Randy.
I don't have my phone with me. I did, but he did. And you could use my name and say, hey, Pat, he said I should give you a call.